reacted to New York Times report that Nigeria is facing its worst economic crisis in decades under the Bola Tinubu administration. Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bola Ononuga, says the report, based on several interviews, was all gloom and doom, as it never mentioned the positive aspects in the same economy, as well as the ameliorative policies being implemented by the central and state governments. The President's aide, who spoke to TVC News earlier on, is optimistic of an economic recovery as fallout of government policies, saying there are already signs of what is to come. That's talking about Bayo Ononuga.
Last month in April, inflation was 33.4 something, and then it moved to by 0.26%. Ditto from March to April. Inflation slowed down. So things are improving. Things are improving. The impact, people will soon begin to feel the impact of all this reduction. I had a call, for example, from my town in Ogun State some few days ago, that do I know that the cost of Gari is going down? Inflation is on a reduction level. It's going down. It is going to go down.
Well, joining us in the studio is lawyer and chairman NNPP Ogun State, Barrister Femi Aino. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And via Zoom from the United States of America is convener Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Dr. Oludare Marindoti. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. Thanks for having me.
Let me begin with you, Dari. Your reaction to this report by the New York Times, even though the presidency has responded saying that this current administration inherited a bleeding economy.
Yeah, you're right they are right in saying that the administration inherited a bleeding economy. The only problem is that that is not what the people want to hear, because the people are feeling a palpable pain. And I read through that report, I understand the response of the administration, but I think the report only just highlighted experiences of, a lot of Nigerians. And, I am very connected to home, and I hear all these stories too. I had a story of an hairdresser that was trying to tell her daughter not to go and poo-poo, because if she does, she will start getting hungry. So what I feel the administration would have been a better response is to acknowledge the fact that there are a little bit of suffering. And I like the things that, the government has been doing. I feel like it's also still very regrettable that a lot of Nigerians still feel that, the removal of the subsidy on fuel and the unification of exchange rate is a bad policy. I think that's also as a result of the fact that the administration, the presidency, has not communicated enough with Nigerians so that they can see that what the president is doing, what the administration is doing, is to the benefit of Nigerians. The subsidy on fuel and, the multiple exchange rate does not benefit the poor. It is the rich that have the money to buy the dollar. So if every time I, give you $1, I give a rich man 1 billion, who am I really subsidizing for? How many Nigerians have access to get dollars? And I would use a very prominent example of the best. I won't even use arbitrage to explain it. I'll use the best thing that has happened to Nigeria in the last 50 years, which is the Dangote refinery. Dangote got access, according to the news, to about $9 billion. If he had gone to get that dollar black market, he probably would have gotten about 5.5 billion. So that means that the government essentially gave him access to 3.5 billion for a business, which is a good one, the best thing to happen to Nigeria in the last 50 years. But that is a gift to a rich man. That does not affect, and by the government doing this, the government does not have money to invest in education, to invest in healthcare, to invest in infrastructure. So they needed to take out that money from the rich and give it to the poor, which is where the jury is out, and which is why you can see the government have money to do this, invest in planting of food and all of that. So there is a need for further communication and education of Nigerians as to the benefits of these policies, and acknowledge the pains, and then profile a solution. I don't know if I still have some time, but I wrote an article on June 6, 2023, where I spoke about how the government can cushion the effect of subsidy removal. And the second idea I gave was...
But Darren, let me quickly say something now. You recall the president often says that I understand your pain and all of that. Isn't that enough acknowledgement on the part of the president saying he understands and knows the plight of the people, especially when he's addressing the nation? You hear him say some of these things.
Yes, the president definitely, I don't doubt for a second that the president does not understand the plight of the people. The president, by unifying the exchange rates, took a dagger to his own pocket. He is a rich man. He lost value by doing that. He's doing it for the benefit of the people. But the people need to understand it. And the president also needs to be seen, making moves. Like I have criticized this before, that when the president said that we should not allow food to come into the country, that we should extricate ourselves when we don't have enough food, I think that is a wrong move. If you look at the effective import duty on a lot of the food that Nigerians consume, wheat is about 85%, sugar is about 70%, salt is about 70%. Those are things that you need to make bread. If the government took out those import duties, you can drop the price of bread by maybe even 60% if you do the math. These are the things that the presidency needs to do, because if you have unified exchange rate, the prices will normally go up. But those prices were too high because of the government policies. So the government needed to, as a stopgap method, take out these import duties, allow food to come in, so that there will be availability of food. Food security is more important than food production. If the farmers are making a loss, you then subsidize the farmers. You can subsidize their diesel. You can give them incentives. You can give them grants so that they can keep producing, while you give them the infrastructure that will make them globally competitive. Nigeria should be growing food for exportation. Right now, what we are doing is growing for exploitation, because the Nigerian market is being exploited. You see the varying prices of tomato in Akure compared to in Jos, rice in Niger compared to in Ibadan. These things can be stopped by allowing food to come in, so that we can handle this emergency. It is a crisis that we need to fix, not blame the New York Times. All what New York Times was still talking about was the effect of lack of access to food. People were having convulsion because of hypocalcemia. They teach us all these things in medical. We don't have access to egg. People can't eat egg. They don't have access to milk because they have banned importation of maybe maize or something. There are multiple of these policies that needed to have been addressed. And I thought that was what the president was trying to do when he got this tax the tax czar, to be, to before he even started his office. So I don't know, maybe there is lack of political support for demand policies, because I've heard that man say that he made reference to Donald Trump when he increased the taxes on imports from China, and in the end it is American citizens that are paying that taxes. So all these import duties that the government have on food, they are just taxing Nigerians, and we don't have money because of the every policy that needs time to to bear fruits. So the presidency can buy time by taking out all these imports. I wrote this article in 2023, June 6. In the Punch, June 6, 2024, I thought that the president is just considering it. I think they should have done this long time ago, so that Nigerians can have a bit of respite, and then you will now give yourself the time to allow your policies to materialize. It is just like giving, they said they are doing a surgery, taking out cancer of subsidy. When you do surgery, the pain, you have to give pain reliever. You have to give analgesia. Those pain relievers are the removal of subsidies and allowing food to come in, so that Nigerians can at least eat. The Yoruba people will say, that is to say, when you eliminate hunger from poverty, that poverty can be considered resolved. So let Nigerians eat food. The president said, let the poor breathe, don't suffocate them. I will say, let the poor feed, don't choke them.
All right, Mr. Dotsu. Back to you in the studio. For this article, I believe it focused, some have actually raised concerns about the tone of the article and what the perspective will be to foreign investors. We have inflation about 33.69% 33 this month. We're looking at the perspective of how this will be to foreign investors and what this will spell for Nigeria. Is it realistic that a New York article will not balance some of our existing realities by not, looking at the federal government positive move to alleviate some of these concerns.
Yes, thank you. But the point is this. If you read the article very well, I think it's a reflection of what is going on in the country. Whether it is balanced or not, let's look at the substance. Number one, was there no fuel subsidy removal? That's the first question. Number two, was there no unification of the forex market? Those are the fundamental points.
But we know that the matter of the subsidy removal was to end in June, and so the president was just making a statement. Yes. The previous administration had known that it was going to end in June, and so the president had to just make that statement.
Yeah, because it was not in the budget. But that's not an excuse for you not to think about what will be the implications of your action.
But we couldn't sustain it. That's what the government said.
Yes, they said it's not what the president said.
And even all the presidential candidates, the major parties had agreed that subsidy was something that had to be removed.
I take your point, but I invite you to take my point. You see, every political party can turn around and say, okay, we are going to support this initiative. It's a drain on our resources and what have you. That is understandable. But the point is this. It doesn't take away the fact that you need to consider the implication of your decision and your action. And you need to appreciate one thing. For every action, you must expect a reaction. The problem with this subsidy removal, I take your point that it was not in the budget. They said it will end in June. And the president on that day, he said that subsidy removal is gone forever. Well, maybe if it's me, what I'm going to say is that for the issue of subsidy removal, we are going to look at it. Because the problem we have is this. The moment he made that announcement, what follows is the hardship. The price of the product went up. And then we are where we are now, whereby, there's food inflation in the country, the inflation rate has gone up and what have you. Even the subsidy removal, which they said is gone forever, you've heard the other people saying, no, it's still there. It hasn't been removed. At least you listen to the interview with Rifai and others. Now, these are the issues which we need to consider. And the problem is this. If you want to come into government, it is very important you promise little and deliver big. Because if you promise too much without carrying out a critical analysis of the economy or what you are going to, we are going to have. We have a situation now. We have the 16th president of Nigeria, and we are now where we are. And the problem we have, they said they are going to tackle poverty. That is understandable. They came up with all these initiatives. We know that. We are not saying the government is not doing something. But what they are doing is not reflecting on the poor masses in this country. If you want to tackle poverty and deal with the poor, that's understandable. Then what happened to the working poor? Today is public holiday. Tomorrow you will see them boarding buses going to work. At the end of this month, they get their salary. But as soon as they pay the children's school fees, pay the bills, there is nothing left.
Cost of living crisis is what you're saying?
Well, the cost of living crisis is there. But what do you do to ameliorate that cost of living crisis? The president in June last year gave 5 billion as palliative initiatives, you will recall. Okay. They said they are going to give the money to some of the governors. At the end of the day, there are a lot of crises. They said a certain percentage will be a grant, some will be either a loan, and there were a lot of outcry. Whether those money have been disbursed, those are another issue you need to consider. Another thing is this forest market. They said, okay, and taking your colleague's question, that, okay, they said they don't want multiple forest market. They are going to unify. They're going to unify it because it's, investors are not willing to come. Now, since they did that, what happened?
The CBN governor had said that more portfolio investors have been coming in. They are seeing some kind of confidence.
Right, it may well be, but you have to be very careful of somebody who is marking their homework. Because at the end of the day, let's wait and see the reality of things. And there's another point.
Your statements seem like you're not giving them the benefit of the doubt.
You look, the benefit of doubt will always be there. It is not about giving people benefit of doubt. It is about actions now. We want, you see, if you go out there, listen to, if you read that statement, their response to the New York Times, they said these are inherited problems.
Yes.
Now, yes, you can say yes, but you inherited from who? From
the previous administration.
No, thank you. The previous administration. Which party is the previous administration?
So are we
is
now
it not
looking
APC?
are we now looking at the party as against those who are at the helm of affairs?
You can't separate the two. Because
Why not?
I will tell you why. Because number one, President Tinubu has a spear key to Aso Rock when President...
Did you see it?
No.
Did you see it?
No, what I'm saying is that because of his position and the closeness to President Buhari, he can come in and see the president at any time. During the currency...
But he's not the one that will make policies.
Look, at the end of the day, it's not the one, but they belong to the same political party. And when you belong to the same political party and your policy is affecting the masses, and you have the ear of the president, you have the right to talk to him. And I'll give you an example. During the currency redesign, and there were a lot of outcry here and there that people are saying they can't get the money, whatever. Did he not meet the president to discuss the issue?
But yes. You also know what went on during that period.
They are not
how there were other stories around this matter that it was against certain persons at the time.
I take your point. But the point you need to appreciate is that, God, you see, when you belong to a political party, there is something they call collective responsibility. Right. Okay, you may not agree with what the government is doing, but because you're a member of that political party, then you need to align yourself. Okay, so what they are trying to do, you see, this blame game is not an excuse. What we want is a solution. Listen, if you listen to Bayo Onanuga, he said price of Gary has gone down. At which market?
From his place.
Yeah, from which place? Look, I bought Gary a few weeks ago. If you go to the market now and buy pepper, 7,500, you cannot even have a full pot of soup. People are going through bread and water month by month. And how long this is going to go on for? That is the million-dollar question we need to ask ourselves.
But the president has always asked for patience. He understands the plight of Nigerians. Isn't it unfair to say that, to blame the two major policies of this administration on the current challenges that we are facing?
Yes. No, you can't isolate the two, because at the end of the day, if you see, what is the policy? Policy is a statement of action. And your policy must be very consistent. And it must also be well thought out. And the problem we have is this. The moment they remove that fuel subsidy and they realize it's not in the budget, they should have come up with a palliative initiative immediately. There has been an outcry about that. They did that subsequently.
They did
because
that.
when they realized...
paid, I think, 25,000.
There were monetary and non-monetary initiatives
that were put in place.
But you can even pay them 80,000. But if you don't deal with inflation, if you don't deal with food inflation, if you don't deal with the prices of goods and services, that money will be useless, because there is no point putting money and thinking by pushing money that will be the solution. No. What you need to do is to create an enabling environment whereby the economy of the country will thrive, whereby citizens will earn a living wage, and at the same time, whereby at the end of the day, when you pay your bills, you pay your children's school fees, there will be something left on a Friday after Jumat or on a Sunday after church to take the family out for a meal, and you will have something to put in for a rainy day. Now, the problem we have is this. Look at the labor strike. Is it not because part of it, and that was reflected in the article, it was because of the food inflation. That's why they said, look, you need to increase wages. And the problem I have is this. Even if you are asking for 492,000, if you are asking for 500,000, there is no problem. But the point is that we can agree that we will give you 500,000, but you will wait months and months to get the money. Because it's not wise. Just ask for something reasonable, whereby you know every month, by the 25th of the month, it's in your salary. So the government needs to sit down, and maybe we should have an economic summit and look at it. Because if you go out there, I must be sincere to you, people are complaining. And I can tell you, they are even expressing regret. I've seen people telling me, And I'm not playing opposition politics that had it been we know it's going to be like this, maybe we will have voted for NNPP. But I said, look, it's not too late. Go and lobby your member of parliament so that they can impeach the president.
You certainly played the opposition politics. Anyway, let's come back to you now, Dr. Marion Dati, taking it from where our guest in the studio left it off, talking about perhaps having an economic summit to address some of these issues. Because earlier on, you were talking about government not strategically communicating to Nigerians what it is doing so that perhaps they properly understand what the intentions of government actually is.
Yes, I mean, an economic summit, constant, when you want to, in communication, repetition is very important. You have to keep repeating these things and keep communicating to Nigerians, especially even the young Nigerians. And also, it's not just all talk. You have to back it up with some actions that will definitely effectively bring down the costs of living. Before this whole policy, these policies need to happen. The guest in the studio, Daddy said that, the president inherited this problem from Buhari, but Buhari also inherited it from Jonathan, who inherited it from Yar'Adua, who inherited it from Obasanjo. This policy, Chief Olufalaye, when he was, in the 80s, tried to, when he was director of structural adjustment program, it's the same thing that they were trying to do, because it is not sustainable. The country cannot keep subsidizing the rich and then not having money to invest in the education of the poor. If you cannot educate your populace, you are not going to bring up your productivity, and your country is not necessarily going to grow. So there is a need to communicate these things, and these policies need time. So the president will be doing himself a favor by allowing, you can see all the conversation has always been about food insecurity, food, prices of transportation. You look at it right now in Nigeria. If you want to bring any form of vehicle in, including buses that will move a lot of people, you are going to pay maybe over 100% in the effective tax rate for you to bring buses. So people cannot bring cars that are going to be fuel efficient, that will move a whole lot more people and bring down the cost of transportation. All these taxes, the presidency cannot cherry pick where to liberalize. Once you are liberalizing, foreign forex, you are liberalizing your fuel subsidy. You also have to liberalize your trade, so that the prices will all come down and they will find their convenient places, and then the Nigerian people will have a bit of a respite while you are constantly communicating with them. Also, the issue of the minimum wage, I think this should have been resolved very early. As a matter of fact, I don't know if there's any law against the presidency or the governors starting to pay whatever they have agreed to right now while the negotiation goes on, because any extra money going to the hand of Nigerians is going to bring a whole lot of relief. So if the presidency says we want to pay 62,000, from next month just start paying the 62,000 while the negotiation is going on. We can have a quarterly review of minimum wage, or up until we find something. But just try and be seen to be giving Nigerians a lot of support and succor. And also sometimes you hear some spending that sounds more like profligacy or something. It is bad optics. Sometimes the style is more important than the substance, especially in the social media age. So imagine a post on social media saying the presidency wants to spend 22 billion on another private jet, when a 25-year-old mother cannot feed a 3-year-old child. They are going to show a lot of ire at those. So these things also need to be efficiently managed. The most important thing is food. The presidency needs to allow food to come in, and let's see what the price is going to be. Dollar is already expensive. Nigeria can also export. We are going to, security and everything. Multiple things. Even the state governors also have to take a lot more, responsibility. And the restructuring will also help the presidency in putting more attention on the state governors. The governor of Zamfara was on a television station talking about insecurity. Now, if the governor of Zamfara is in charge of the police of the Zamfara state people, then he will have less excuse to give for the insecurity in his state, because he will be working with the federal government and he will be able to control his police. So these things need to be going on hand in hand. Yes, the economic summit, yes, good, but essentially the most important thing is to communicate with Nigerians. and get them on board, because this is not a load that the president can carry alone. All Nigerians need to be on board with him. And the only way you can get Nigerians to be on board, we doctors do it all the time. You explain to them, you get their consent, you tell them, I want to do this surgery on you. They know it's going to cause them pain, but they allow the doctor to cut them open because the doctor was able to convince them. So the presidency should do a better job convincing Nigerians to understand that these policies need to be taken. They needed to have been done 40 years ago. But at this point in time, we have to do it, because when you are in a hole, you have to stop digging. Nigeria was in that hole, we stopped digging.
So if I get you correctly, the policies in themselves are not bad, bottom line.
They are not bad at all. They are very necessary. Without those policies, Nigeria will not be able to survive. Maybe China will come and buy us and colonize us. Without those policies, because we are just giving money to the rich. The rich are the ones that use, fuel. They use more fuel. The rich man uses more fuel than you. Uses more fuel than the poor agbero on the street. Dollar, the agbero does not really use dollar. It is the rich guys that use it. So when we subsidize dollar, we are subsidizing for the rich people. We need to let the poor people know that this needs to stop, so that the government can have that resources, and then the government can invest it in your education, in your health, in your well-being, in your infrastructure, that you need to get a good quality of life in the agricultural sector. The government can still target, targeted subsidies. You can subsidize diesel that is being used by farmers and food transporters. You can ensure that nobody takes taxes from all those people transporting food. Every single market, before Yaloja puts his tomato on the floor, one person is coming to collect 200 naira, 500 naira. You can end all those things, and then they will not be transferring those costs over to the consumers. These are things that you can do, and you will bring some form of respite little by little. I said this thing on this program once before, that when the United States had a breast milk scarcity in 2022, what did Joe Biden do? He sent the United States Air Force to go and bring milk from all over the world. We have tomato crisis currently right now. We should be bringing in tomato from maybe Egypt or anywhere we can bring it. We can put tomatoes on a plane and fly to Nigeria, and then Nigerians will have available supply. We have to fix the food problem so that Nigerians will be patient with the administration and allow the policies to materialize. Productivity will take time. The president said he wants to double the economy or quadruple the economy in like 10 years. It takes time. If there's no magic switch, they themselves, they say there's no magic wand. But if you allow the people eat food by removing all the unnecessary import duties, I mean, look at it. Common sugar, wheat, everything has almost 100%, aside the cost of importation, of transportation. So all these things you have to work towards, removing. And let Nigerians feed. When Nigerians can eat food, they will allow the administration the time to carry out their procedure. It's like a doctor that wants to cut you open without giving you anesthesia. You will not let him. So the administration should let Nigerians feed. Once they feed, they will give them the time they need, and then they will praise them for it come 2027. Right. But if they keep on blocking food, I am worried for 2027.
Okay. Now, you're bringing a political dimension to the whole conversation, but I saw you were smiling to some of the things he said, Femi.
No.
With regards to the matter of food. You seem to agree with him.
Well, I align myself with his line of thought. But the point is, when he said the president should come out and they should talk more to the people, and then so that we know what is going on. But with an empty stomach, we are not ready to listen. You need to try. We want food on the table, and the government must do something about it. Affordable food on the table, and the government must do things about it, because these things has a spiral effect, and that is something we need to reflect on. If people are not eating healthy food, the next thing they will do is they will be going to the hospital with all sorts of illnesses, and doctor will now have time to treat people with terminal illness. We have an outbreak already. And that we have an outbreak we are dealing with already. You see, these are things we need to look at. And what this government is doing, which I'm concerned about, is this idea of saying, oh, we inherited it, it was this. If you look at that statement from Ononuga, he said the previous government resorted to massive borrowing to cover such costs. Now, fair enough, You can say that. But at the same time, what are they doing too? At the same, they took about 2 point something from World Bank. Was it not last week or so? That was in the news. If you read the statement from the Minister of Finance. And then NPCL or NNPC went to Cairo and took a substantial amount of flow from Absolves Bank because they said there are gaps and they are going to use that to pop up things. Fair enough. But at the same time, you have to be very careful because we don't know the terms of this loan. We don't even know the interest on it. Because part of the criticism in Bayo Onanuga's statement was that the previous government planned to spend 97% of revenue servicing debt. Right. That is a substantial amount. And if you go on the same route, what is going to happen? You see, what the president needs to do, I'm not saying they are not trying to ameliorate these problems and deal with this, their interventionist policies here and there. And that was not even reflected in the New York Times article. Yeah. But the point is this, as time goes by, you can come up with a policy. There is nothing wrong with you. But and he said that, and I agree with him, that you see, you need to sit down after a few months and review this policy, whether is it working. If it's not working, then you have to rejig things. The Nigerian people, what they want is this. It's very simple. Security, food, and the welfare. Lawyers, when they come to your program, you hear them saying security and welfare is the paramount principle of this and that, day in and day out. But you see, once you do that, Nigerian people will be very happy and they know they have a government. And time is going. Because, you see, 1 year has gone by and we are still where we are. Bread and water, month by month. When are we going to have the tikka masala?
And talking about policies that will affect the Nigerian population, we have the conversation of the minimum wage going on right now. And of course, if you will agree, it's important for us to look at the possibility of sustaining some of these policies. I will say that some state governors are complicit in the fact that the federal allocation for last month, if you look at it, was quite higher. How have they been able to use it for, at least productivity in that state, work production? We still have the argument that some states cannot pay the minimum wage. You cannot communicate to people at the grassroots when the state governments are not communicating with them. The local governments, they are not feeling the impact of these allocations on the people. Well,
there are ways to deal with that. Number one, do we have a necessary monetary scheme to make sure that the money allocated to these states are well spent? That is one thing. That's the starting point. Two, you need to look at corruption as well. That is very important. And number three is this idea. You see, you talk about the local government being the third tier of government and what have you. Now, but when the allocation gets to the governor and they don't give the local government share,
matter is in court.
And there is a litigation which is going on now. And there is other opinion that, look, let all this money be paid directly to all the local governments so that the governors won't have control and what have you. Because if you go into some of these rural areas, I was there during the election. There are so many things going on there. And, on one of your programs, when you said some nurses say they are quack or something, or what, I said, you see, those people you call quack, if you go into the rural areas, they are providing valuable services because there are no hospital, there are no maternity. I went to campaign in a place that, look, the women get pregnant in Nigeria and they go and give birth in Republic of Benin. When you stand in that village, you can even see Republic of Benin ahead of you. Now, you ask yourself, what is going on? What is the problem? And this dichotomy of it's a federal road, it's a state road, and now we are talking about food scarcity, food inflation. How is that going to work? How are we going to move this food? During the Obasanjo regime, there was Operation Feed the Nation. Maybe we should now look at how we are going to do it so that everybody, as on part-time basis, they can go into their, maybe it's a small subsistence farming in the neighborhood. Government needs to do something. Although they say they're giving fertilizer, they've given all this money.
Which is part of the palliatives.
Which is part of the palliatives. But the point is this, why is it not getting to the ordinary people? That is the question. Because there are a lot of economic saboteurs.
We've seen pictures and videos of some of these persons that got these items in some of the states. So perhaps the states themselves have to take up the responsibility of ensuring that they help people see what they have done with the palliatives they have gotten.
That's a good point. But the other point is, if you read the Bureau of Statistics, their report, they say food inflation in some states is at 40%, but in other states like Taraba or some other states, it is presently at 37%, which means the government in those states are doing something. Well, if we can get other states to copy that, that might be a good idea to resolve the problem.
We saw Southwest governors come together recently where they said that there'll be massive investment in agriculture as it is. That's what they are telling themselves. And we also saw in Niger State where the governor actually got a parcel of land, got tractors and all of those to also push matters of agriculture as it is.
And so the Lagos State government too did something.
So Lagos State government has done something, Ogun State government has done something as well. That's why they're coming together to say, you know what, we need to push this matter of investment in agriculture. But my question comes to you now, Dari, with regards to the role of the subnationals at ensuring that those at their level feel the impact of everything the government is trying to do as it is. There are those who have said, if you look at the papers this morning, some persons were talking about the people around the president who are not really pushing the ideals of his government such that it gets to the people as it is. How do we address this matter of ensuring that governance, the dividends of democracy trickles down from the subnationals who have a huge role to play as it is moving forward?
Yeah, you know, you're very right when you talk about the governors need to play a bigger role, but the issue is that the governors find it so easy to hide under the presidency because of our current constitutional structure, which everybody has, advocated for review and restructuring. Because if the governors have more power, then they cannot blame everything on the president, because when it comes to food cultivation and all of that, it should be in the purview of the governors to use their own local Ministry of Agriculture to improve cultivation and food sufficiency and be able to predict their demands and all of that. But they all just look up to the federal government because they have not been incentivized to try to sustain themselves. When you talk about the issue of the minimum wage, I understand that the cost of living is not the same. It's not uniform all across the nation, and that is why the whole conversation about minimum wage thing is also confusing to me when you think about it, because you want to pay 60,000 naira for people in Lagos and people in Zamfara or other poorer states that don't have their same high cost of living, which is a mismatch. I've said this before. Looking at the history of the NLC was, and I'm sure Barrister Femi will be able to tell me, educate me more about this, but I read about it that it was the military that, used the Decree 24 or something to start NLC in order to suppress the voices of, the workers. I feel like they should go back to each, trade union, journalists, everybody to have independence, union and negotiate with their state governors, because the reality in each state is different. So that, we have to put a lot more responsibilities on the states. When I was in FMC or Federal Medical Center or a smaller state with a lower cost of living, I was earning 20,000 naira more than my classmate that was working in Federal Medical Center in Lagos, which has higher, cost of living. These things are a mismatch. So if you want to really fix it, the state governors need to take a whole lot more prominence. It is the state governors that should be going out, trying to attract more investments, trying to ensure that the people are food sufficient. The federal government trying to do this is the federal government doing too much. The realities, the geography of our states are not even the same. So there are some states that will have a strategic advantage geographically and ecologically in some certain food crops that other states will not have. So the states need to be the ones to take the lead role on this idea of food security. But if we have a structure where everything is dependent on the federal government, the states cannot even survive if they don't undo to the federal government at the end of the month. So these things, we give them a wiggle room to just check responsibility, and then everybody is looking at the president alone for food security. With the situation about the disparity in the price of food, some of these are political. There have been times whereby there were blockage of food coming from the north to the south. The governor of Niger State said that they are going to not let people buy food from their what's it called? Because I know they said the bag of rice is about 50,000 in the north, about 85,000 in the south. So these are the things that the state government need to be more involved in terms of ensuring food security for their own people, allowing food importation, allowing food sufficiency, and then when our production matches our demand or surpasses it, and when we are able to more efficiently produce higher yield crops and all those things, and have the infrastructure, the real infrastructure and the electricity, everything that will make food prices come down, then we will be able to self-sustain. Nobody imports wheat into Ukraine, despite the Russia war that is affecting a lot of their, the eastern part of Ukraine where a lot of this wheat is grown, because they have more than enough. So when we start making enough, we will not need to import. But the Nigerian governors need to be at the forefront. They need to be the ones that should be put on the spotlight. And that is why, if I was the president, I would work on the restructuring a whole lot faster, so that the spotlight will be on 37 people, not just one man in Abuja. Exactly. So that is my own, take on the role of the governors. Even when it comes to transportation, the governors can do a whole lot in transportation. The structuring will ensure that the local governments also can take responsibilities. Every local government are the ones that controls the buses that run in their streets, and they ensure that the people can buy a bus ticket that they can use for a whole day, and makes lives a lot easier. These are some form of subsidies too that government can do.
Okay, so back to you in the studio. Let's also understand that the foreign media may not be able to understand the Nigerian perspective as much as Nigerians who will be reporting that kind of story will. But what is the way forward here? We know the word on the streets, the inflation rate and that. How do we move from here?
Well, the way to move from there is very simple. Number one, regarding your question about the foreign media, it's not impossible to invite them to come and see what you are doing. We do that. That is a common practice in Nigeria. You get government officials, government department, they invite journalists, they take them around that come and see this is what we are doing, this is how we have spent the money allocated to us, number one. And number two, some nations, they have these foreign consultants, media consultants that help to project their image and inform people. You can't expect them to know all. But on this issue about food security also, and I agree with my colleague when he said, look, we need to think about rail transportation. That is also very vital. The farmers market is very important. The farmers market, we can use that to cut out the middle person so that this farmer can sell directly to members of the public. That will help as well.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave the conversation. We must thank you, lawyer, public affairs analyst, Barrister Femi Aino, for your time, as well as convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative, Oludare Maridoti, for your time on the program. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Right. And finally on the show, we went to the streets of Lagos to ask people if they would rather get paid 200